Welcome to RCR Wireless News. I'm Martha DeGrasse, and I'm joined by Alan Proithis. He is with Sigfox, and Alan is charged with rolling out Sigfox's Internet of Things network here in North America. Alan, thanks for making the time today.
Well, thanks for having me.
I think it would be great if you could just sort of start off by explaining Sigfox to us and explaining the business model. We hear a lot about the IoT nodes that are coming to North America, but some people aren't exactly sure what you do or how you make money doing it.
Well, sure. It's pretty simple. We're just the largest low-power, wide-area network in the world that's dedicated to IoT data. And for all this conversation about the tens of billions of things that will be connected over the next few years, well, to use all that great data, you first have to connect them. And while conventional technologies are wonderful for many purposes, they're not really optimized for these little things that are really whispering rather than shouting data. Small bits of data that are important, but the actual amount of data is very small.
So as you deploy nodes across North America, who will your customers be?
Well, we already have a good sense of that since we have millions of devices already with Sigfox's technology in Europe, where the company started. So again, great example of important data coming in very small doses from all kinds of devices would include one of our partners that were just with us in Vienna last week at the big utility show, Glen Canyon, an electrical meter manufacturer. But we have really many applications from electric and water meters, smoke detectors, security systems, water moisture sensors in agricultural applications. There's really an amazing amount of applications, again, where they only are speaking with very small bits of data, but the people really want that data for some compelling use cases.
Okay, all right, great. So a big question for our audience in particular is how you fit into the mobile operator ecosystem. I know that when you recently raised, I think, more than $100 million, you had mobile operators as investors, but not from this country. So how do you see yourself playing in this country with or against the mobile operators?
Well, it's actually very much complementary and with. What they do a spectacular job of, better than anybody in the world. But we have to remember, traditional cellular technologies like LTE are spectacular when you're sending big chunks of data, perhaps from a streaming jet engine, or even watching videos of a sneezing panda. But the trade-off is, you really don't get long battery life. When was the last time you charged your mobile phone? And for the kind of deployments we're focused on, again, not only are they whispering data, but you're talking about batteries that under service level agreement and contractually need to last 5 or even 10 plus years. And so what the traditional operators are doing is really great, but it'll only serve really a minority of IoT use cases if you look at all the research. So we're really addressing non-consumption. There's billions of things out there that people want to connect. They want the data from it, has value, but you simply can't connect it at the current cost levels of traditional technology. And even if you could connect it, you need it to work more than the time it takes you between charges of your traditional smartphone. And so that's really the niche of billions and billions of things that we're focused on that, again, is frankly completely complementary to traditional operators.
So complementary in the sense that it's picking up business that perhaps they couldn't, but not necessarily in that it's bringing more connectivity their way. It's just picking, right or wrong?
Actually, both. Because when you look at the module cost for an LTE module, depending who you talk to and what scale you're at, let's call it $40 or $50 a module. And then you're looking at the service cost. That knocks out the use case for billions of things. When you're looking for a technology from Sigfox where it's now maybe $2 incremental cost to a BOM, very rapidly trending under a dollar, fractions of a dollar in the next year or two, and you're looking at scale of a services cost per year of literally a couple of dollars a year, it really allows a whole new set of use cases that it's not that it's a choice between Sigfox and a traditional operator. It's a choice between connectivity and no connectivity. And that's really the focus market for us.
Okay, great. And how do you differentiate yourself from other providers of low-power, wide-area network solutions?
Well, there's a handful of people out there, and I think the biggest difference is most other people are really focused on use cases that would be private networks. So if you're looking to put up a small private network, perhaps you push a button, the door opens. Great example, okay, in near real time, where you can optimize for a particular use case like that, and it's a small thing. I think that's a great use case for some of these other technologies. But I think it's a huge differentiator with Sigfox is from the very beginning, we're building a global seamless, low power, wide area network. And it's seamless and technically, wherever you ship a device or wherever your device roams to, it'll simply work without worrying about technological implications. And frankly, from a contractual basis, it's one contract seamless roaming as well. And that's something that, as far as we can tell, almost no other low power, wide area technology can handle. So I view some of the other stuff less as competition and more just really optimized for a very different world.
Okay.
And the other thing I'd share with you is that there's a reason people like Microsoft Azure and AWS are doing so well, because people don't really see a lot of business value to be gained from owning their own computer servers. So in most cases, I don't think people are going to see a lot of business value from trying to own their own base stations.
Right, right. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the cities in North America where you'll be deploying. We know that you've already started in San Francisco and also, I believe, in New York. Is that right?
That's correct. They're part of the list of the initial 10 cities we committed to by the end of first quarter of next year. And we had our big San Francisco kickoff on October 27th. And it was a great event and a great partnership with the city of San Francisco.
So it's going well working with the municipal authorities there?
It is, because it's one of those cities where, they live, breathe, and sleep technology. I mean, what isn't there, right? And so to them, it's a competitive advantage for the city to maintain that edge over most other places in the world to really be with the latest and greatest big thing. So it was a great partnership for us as well. We were great to be recognized as the next big thing for them. And frankly, working with the city helped us get a critical footprint in the place as one of the most important tech areas of the world.
Right. And it sounds like multiple agencies within the city were involved and all cooperating there.
Correct. We work very closely with the CIO office and the Chief Innovation Office of the city. And again, they just simply get it from the ground up. It's hard to find a more welcoming environment. But they were able to pull in some other key organizations in the city, like the library system, like Parks and Recreation. So wherever it happened to be that we needed a site to put one of our tiny base stations up, it ended up being a very straightforward thing.
And the city tells us that these tiny base stations are whip antennas atop the libraries. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. When you think base station and traditional cellular, you think the massive equipment boxes and back the truck up and get the electricians out for a couple of weeks. We're just the opposite. I mean, our base stations are only about the size of a briefcase. You have a 30-inch whip antenna. It's just plug it in, put a DSL line in, and guess what? You have a new base station running. So it's so low impact, you can really put these things just about anywhere.
Now, do you employ technicians to do this, or do you work with local contractors for each deployment?
So we do all the network planning, and we do all the coordination, scheduling, prioritization, all that. We then have contracted a rather extensive network of third parties that are not only providing sites for us around the country, but also provide the installation services. So it's because we're going at such scale so quickly, there's no way you could hire enough people internally to do that. So, so we put together a broad nationwide network of partners to do that much more quickly.
Okay, excellent. Now, what can you tell us about New York?
Well, New York's a spectacular place, and if you read all the funding activity information, it's number 2 behind Silicon Valley in the U.S. in terms of tech funding, and has a great IoT ecosystem. So we're going to be announcing New York going live very soon, but we're already pretty far along our network coverage there.
Okay, all right, great. And let's quickly run down the list that we see of the other cities: San Jose and LA in California. Here in Texas, we've got Austin, Dallas, and Houston, so we're excited about that. Chicago, Boston, and Atlanta, right? That rounds out the list.
Correct.
Now, do you see any new tower construction as part of all this?
No, it's not really our business. I mean, there's people that are excellent at that business, a number of traditional large players, and also a number of surprisingly large non-traditional players in that space. And because there's almost no incremental cost to put us in a location, because of the size of our base station and the requirements for power and everything are so low, it's opening up whole new categories of sites to us. So we have no intention of going into a business that other people know very well, and we intend to continually grow our network of partners to do that faster and better.
So you don't see new construction activity for any of your deployments?
No, I mean, construction in terms of we'll be deploying base stations, but we're not building towers or sites of any type whatsoever. It's just, and frankly, the most of the tier one operators in the U.S. really have been out of that business for over a decade now too. They've outsourced most of that, so it's a pretty well known model.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, I know that your background, I think, is here in the U.S. Is that right? You were with InterDigital before, is that right?
Absolutely, and before that, I spent 7 years at HP.
Okay, so, but have you spent some time in Europe? Because I think that it's interesting to hear about how the Internet of Things is progressing in Europe versus the US. Do you have any perspective on that?
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time in Europe with lots of partners and different projects. And, it sort of reminds me of the mobile business. You remember how like mobile for years, it seemed like Europe was always a little bit ahead of us in the US. And then as soon as mobile came together with cloud, the Silicon Valley machine kicked into high gear and just really took off. And now, with all the big names we know and love, it's really turned into the center of the universe of what is today mobile. And I think, IoT to me has been moving a bit faster in Europe than over here, mostly from a technology basis with some of the great engineering going on and some of the business model thinking. But at the same time, because of our tech environment here in the US, I think now that the U.S. is fully embracing the concept of IoT, I think you'll see the implementation pace in the U.S. actually surpass Europe in the next 18 months.
Well, that's interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. And then another thing that we do actually hear quite a lot about here in the U.S. is the HETNet, the Heterogeneous Network. Is IoT a part of that? Are you a part of that or not so much?
It depends. It's very much a personal perspective. As I like to joke, not only does one size not fit all, it doesn't even fit most sometimes. And there's a reason we have lots of colors of paint when you go to the paint store and lots of colors of cars and kinds of cars when you buy a car, because you need different vehicles for different purposes. And so whether you're talking about the IoT networks or really any piece of the IoT solution, I think you're going to see an incredible diversity, mainly because there's such a diversification and fragmentation of use cases and situations people need to address.
Right, I think so too. Okay, last thing that I want to ask you, with your background of, I think, about 20 years in and around this space, why did you pick this opportunity with Sigfox and the IoT?
As someone who really got going in their career in the very early days of mobile, when you remember the days when it was 70 and 80% growth per month, and you were just trying to buy enough mainframes to keep the systems running. And there's been very, very few things I've seen in decades that match not just the excitement, but orders of magnitude scale more than we ever could have dreamed of in mobile 20, 25 years ago. Whereas, Sigfox has this incredible vision. They already can show you millions of things working on it in Europe. And now it's really about execution to reach its potential. And that's really what made me so excited to be part of this team. And it's with a group of very, very experienced people who get it and are fully committed to achieving what we're setting out to do.
All right, Alan Proithis, Sigfox, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, thank you.